Well, hello, fellow weaver. I'm your host, Willow Goose, and today we're going to talk about Shuttle-Craft Guild Bulletin number 4, dated December of 1924. Now, this bulletin starts out with explaining a lot about double weave, and we can't possibly read it all, but we'll give you some of the highlights here. I am often asked about the weaving of seamless bags and double-width material. Some notes on the subject are, to be sure, included in the instructions of the course, but these additional suggestions will, I hope, prove of interest. On 4 harnesses, one may weave tubing or seamless bags, and by varying the treadling a little, one may weave double-width cloth, but in the plain tabby weave only. To weave a 4 harness pattern double width for a seamless coverlet or a pillow top, 8 harnesses are required. On 8 harnesses, one might, if one wished, weave a piece of cloth in plain tabby weave 4 times as wide as the loom. This would be rather troublesome, however, and is not suggested as a practical thing to attempt. So theoretically, 4 layers of fabric is possible on a 8-shaft loom, but she advises that this is not a good idea. Cloth twice the width of the loom is of a good deal of practical interest. Very wide fabrics twice the width of the loom are useful for many things, such as blankets, wrap-around coats, etc. Moreover, it is possible by this method for those who only have a table loom to weave dress fabrics about 38 inches wide. Now let's be real, people. She's talking about weaving dress fabrics not so much for yourself, but for selling to other people. Cannot imagine using a table loom to weave fabric to sell to other people. The use of a table loom is just so much slower than using a treadle loom. Just can't even imagine selling the cloth, but we will get there a little bit later in the bulletin. Another way to make a bag is to treadle for about half an inch in a double tabby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This weaves the 2 fabrics together. So effectively what she's saying is if you weave a half an inch where it is closed at the bottom and not a tube, then you will get an automatic hem at the bottom and close the bottom of the bag. This makes it unnecessary to sew across the bottom. The lining should not, however, be finished off in this way, as it would be impossible to turn the bag wrong side out if this were done. So, in our imagination, we're thinking that this tube is actually being woven wrong side out. So you've got this hem at the bottom that closes the bottom of the bag. That will eventually be on the inside of the bag. You then weave the length of the bag wrong side out. Then you weave the lining to the bag, and that should be left open so that you can pull the lining and turn the bag so that the right side, which is on the inside as you weave it, will be on the outside. So I guess she's hand sewing the bottom of the lining, which maybe I would have done it the other way, just because then you would get a finished seam on the lining, and yes, that makes the seam on the outside of the bag, but usually your lining is thinner than the outside of the bag, so there would be more woven fabric or thicker woven fabric to kind of hide that seam versus the lining. But hey, that's just us geese. The bulletin goes on to talk about some correspondence from one of our fellow guild members. One of our guild members in Ohio contributes the following valuable notes. The members of the guild may be interested in a very inexpensive warping frame, which may be made by anybody who can use tools. In many attics are some of the old bed slats which were in use in our grandmother's days. I found such in mine, which a few moments with a plane made smooth. The measurements are given below, and so there's a diagram in the bulletin. The expense was governed by the cost of the dowel pins, which may be bought at any mill, and which in this case were 85 cents. Now, I hope that in 1924, 85 cents bought all of the dowels necessary for this project and not 85 cents each. And she goes on to explain how to do some half lap joints and fasten the corners of the half lap joints with a dowel pin. Now, what she fails to explain is what tools she's using to make these half laps, because I don't think she had a table saw. She didn't have a dado blade. Maybe she was using chisels. I have no earthly idea, but I wish she had provided some of that level of detail. I assume she was using some sort of hand tools to chisel this out and make it work. And, well, I guess if she found the old bed slats in her attic, maybe it was worth it to her. Not sure. And did she have a crank drill, or because she certainly didn't have a cordless drill with batteries. But in any case, we move on to her next hint. I have also found in the Structo loom that very much time can be saved using the little boat-shaped shuttles instead of the flat ones. I put a small strip of wood across the beater. This strip extends about a quarter inch above the lower edge of the sleigh. It can make a runway for the shuttle and works to perfection. One can do in 5 minutes as much as in 15 with a flat shuttle. Interesting. So, not sure where we were in the loom technology at the time, whether she was inventing the shuttle race or if she was just saying, hey, let's add a shuttle race to the Structo loom. But quite interesting that she decides that she wants to do this and that she thinks a boat shuttle will be 3 times as fast as a stick shuttle. Now, a note from Mary. Throw shuttles, as our correspondent writes, much faster than flat shuttles. It is, however, necessary to have a winding device of some sort for winding the bobbins. The winding can be done on some types of sewing machines. An old spinning wheel can be used, and there is on the market a hand wheel for this purpose. The best equipment is a sewing machine motor fitted with a small shank to hold the bobbins. Now, isn't that interesting? Since 1924, the technology of a bobbin winder has not really changed a whole lot. It's still a sewing machine motor fitted with a small shank to hold the bobbins. Of course, there are now double pointed ones that may have been an evolution since this was written, but for the most part, we are still using bobbin winders made from a sewing machine motor. The next article is very interesting about one of her guild members who opened a shop. Mrs. E.J. Green of Providence has just opened a little craft shop not far from her home in partnership with another local guild member. I think members would be interested to know of the splendid progress this member has made. It was only last May that she subscribed for my complete course in weaving. She bought one of our 20-inch table looms then. Now, only a few months later, she has 3 of the table looms and 3 of our practical looms, and her partner has a table loom and plans to get a large 8-harness loom soon. Dress materials, linsey woolsey, and towels and table runners are the things they are specializing in. On Saturday, December 20th, I attended the opening sale. I was thrilled with the results. Over 100 in cash in a few hours, and orders for different things that will keep her busy for many weeks to come. Now, I looked this up on the internet, and you should too. $100 in cash in 1924 is around $1,700 in one day at their opening sale. That's pretty darn good, if we may say so ourselves, and she must have been thrilled with that result. Now, for the last item, she has a little advertising for her chained warps. For the convenience of our members, we can furnish 5-yard warps 16 inches to 18 inches wide for tartan scarf weaving, ready chained with yarn for the weaving at $4.50. This will make 2 scarves. And remember, Mary was trying to support 2 children with her guild and the items she was selling, so on and so forth. She was just the entrepreneurial woman of her day. So that's all we have for Shuttle-Craft Guild Bulletin number 4. Hope everybody has a happy weaving day. Bye.